Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Ishvar and Ishvari of this city, particularly, and of the entire cosmic manifestation, both material and spiritual worlds also. Sri Sri Radha Govinda. I had the fortune to join their lordship and be under the shelter of their lordships in the 340 West 55th Street Temple, and I took my initiation vows in front of them. As we advance in Krishna consciousness and we make the Supreme Personality of Godhead the only goal of our life, we realize that the presence of the Lord with us, accompanying us, is not dependent on time, place, and circumstance. We say when we invoke the blessings to recite Srimad Bhagavatam, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vas means place and Dev means the Lord of every place. So Krishna is everywhere, and he's so kind that he agrees to come and be the presiding deity, the presiding lord of a particular place or desh, to receive service from his devotees, lost devotees, aspiring devotees, so that by serving the deity form, one can make rapid progress in what Lord Chaitanya himself particularly came to give two things: Vairagya, Vidya, Nija, Bhakti Yoga. That means knowledge of one's eternal relationship with Krishna, Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan. Knowledge of what is the activity based on that eternal identification of Dasya Prema, myself as the eternal servant of the Lord of all auspiciousness, and the ultimate goal of that, which must be the most rarefied and precious love of Godhead. So there's a very nice section in the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 14th chapter, called Ideal Family Life, and this is Narada Muni instructing Maharaj Yudhishthira, because Maharaj Yudhishthira is the elder brother of the Pandavas, Arjuna, the righteous, saintly king and pure devotee who Krishna wanted to be installed as the leader of this entire planet for everyone's auspicity. So such a personality who's in transcendental friendship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is certainly above all mundane considerations that we would apply to people outside of devotional service. Yet at the same time, the pure devotee, such as Maharaj Yudhishthira, he puts himself in the position of a quote-unquote ordinary person so that it sets the stage for the Lord and or his empowered representatives, in this case Narada Muni, to impart enlightening instructions, which is the benefit for one and all, for all of time everlasting, such as the Bhagavad Gita. So here, similarly, throughout many chapters in the latter part of the 7th canto, Narada Muni is instructing Maharaj Yudhishthira. And in this section, we'll look at some verses. Narada Muni is describing the most auspicious place to perform the topmost spiritual activities. So this will be my attempt to offer a little homage and glorification to Sri Sri Radha Govinda, who are supremely powerful, supremely mysterious, and supremely merciful, and all opulently beautiful. This is 14th chapter, beginning verse 27 and 28. Narada Muni continued, "Now I shall describe the places where religious performances may be well executed. Any place where a Vaishnava is available is an excellent place for all auspicious activities." So, of course, Sri Sri Radha Govinda, they are here by the call and by their wanting to please their pure devotee, His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. So it's not that just Shri Radha Govinda are here, but Srila Prabhupada is here. And because Shakshad Advid Nastanamsta Shastrer, the pure devotee and the Lord are one in loving interest, and even Krishna himself says that worship of my pure devotee I count as even more valuable than direct worship of myself. And this is the principle of guru-disciple relationship, disciplic succession. So hence Prabhupada is always given a clear view of Shri Radha Govinda, and Shri Radha Govinda always have a direct view of their pure devotee. So the place where the Vaishnava is available, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the support of this entire cosmic manifestation with all its moving and non-moving living entities. And the temple where the deity of the Lord is installed is a most sacred place. Furthermore, places where learned Brahmins observe Vedic principle by means of austerity, education, and mercy are also most auspicious and sacred. Srila Prabhupada says, in this verse it is indicated that a Vaishnava temple where the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is worshipped and where Vaishnavas are engaged in the service of the Lord is the best sacred place for performing any religious ceremonies. At the present day, especially in big cities, people live in small apartments and are not able to establish a deity or temple. That also means to maintain the proper standard of ultimately not just sattva, but sudha sattva, goodness and cleanliness. In the 4th chapter of the 9th canto, in regards to the devotional service of Maharaj Ambarish, which he was very exemplary in performing deity worship. And Prabhupada writes there, to maintain deity worship requires great austerity, to prepare dresses, to keep up the routine work, keep everything clean, prepare and offer opulent foodstuffs, fresh flower garlands. This is certainly an austerity. Such austerity leads to the constitutional understanding of one's eternal identity and freedom from the cycle of repeated birth and death. Under the circumstances, therefore, the centers and temples being established by the expanding Krishna consciousness movement are the best sacred places for performing religious ceremonies. Although people in general are no longer interested in religious ceremonies or deity worship, the Krishna consciousness movement gives everyone a chance to advance in spiritual life by becoming Krishna conscious. In one place, in one of Prabhupada's purports, I believe in the 1st canto, he says that temples and churches erected by the current people's forefathers are now empty. People have lost interest in going to the temple. So the temple is brought to the people, as Lord Chaitanya envisioned, by the process of chanting the holy names of Krishna, which are non-different than the deity. And Srila Prabhupada, taking the cue from his spiritual master, expanded this principle of taking the deity to the people in the form of transcendental literature distribution. Lord Chaitanya, he's Shri Radha and Govinda combined, and he appeared to inaugurate the Yuga Dharma, Aritranaya Sadhunam, Vinashaya Traduskatam, to uplift the faithful and the righteous, to give solace to the good people, and to suppress the immoral, the demoniac, and unrighteous. And within that function, Krishna reappeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to satisfy very confidential internal reasons of his very own. So this chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra satisfies both. Or another way of saying, by distributing the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra simultaneously to ourselves, and to others. This is the topmost process to make spiritual realization and advancement. And Srila Prabhupada very much recommended the life of a preacher, a giver, giving Krishna consciousness. This, as Krishna himself says, counts you as being the dearmost servant. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, at the end, for him, devotional service, or her, devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end, he will come back to me. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there be ever one more dear. So, Krishna has appeared in a form that we can see, that we can touch. Actually, when one receives Brahminical initiation, one can touch the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Srila Sanatana Goswami wanted to give up his body, thinking that his body was low, abominable, and causing offenses to the Supreme Lord, he was chastised by the Lord, saying, I have many purposes that I want to fulfill through your body, through you. And there is, Prabhupada discusses in the purports in that section, that at the time of initiation, the Lord accepts the devotee's body as spiritual, fit to exchange loving mellows with. And Prabhupada writes in another place that deity worship for the beginner is the most valuable benediction. When the different exalted personalities appeared to offer prayers to Lord Vishnu, when he appeared in the set right yagna, which had gone astray previously, of Prajapati Daksha, cursing and counter-cursing the followers of Lord Shiva, that's in the 4th canto. Prabhupada says that by dressing the deities very, very nicely, intricately, best way you possibly can, you become the most minute knower of all the intricacies of the Vedic wisdom. And on a practical level, everyone in this material world is under the bodily conception of life. It's not that the bodily conception of life is wrong, but the material bodily conception of life is wrong. But we have to replace that with the spiritual bodily conception of Krishna. That is right. By meditating on Krishna, by always being aware of his transcendental name, form, qualities, attributes, associates, and ultimately glorious leelas and activities, one becomes the knower of everything, and everything is accomplished. Narada Muni continues, auspicious indeed are the places where there is a temple of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, in which he is duly worshipped, and also the places where there flow the celebrated sacred rivers mentioned in the Puranas, the supplementary Vedic literatures. Anything spiritual done there is certainly very effective. Prabhupada, in this purport, he describes in bygone ages, to find out the mode of goodness, you would go to the forest. But that's not possible in this age. So simply, one should take shelter of the temple deity, which is superior to going to the forest. In many places throughout the world, we are constructing communities to give shelter to devotees and worship the deity in the temple. The deity cannot be worshipped except by devotees. That is a very profound statement that can have many meanings unpacked to it. There is a class of so-called hereditary caste monopolizing Brahmins who more or less use the temple and the deity for their livelihood. This is not the activities of devotees. Not that people's religious sentiments are taken advantage of, and the temple is supported for its basic needs, and that's enough. and I enjoy my prestige as being the leader or the person who lives here, the pujari, this, that, and the other thing. A devotee is always very much concerned for the distribution of Krishna consciousness, proper knowledge and information to the people in general. And Prabhupada, he said that the temples are not places for simply eating and sleeping, but it's a base from which an army of devotees could go forth and distribute, and his letter to Rama prabhu, drop, just like during wartime, the bombs are raining from the sky like anything. Transcendental books. And transcendental books are the recorded kirtans, the recorded ecstasies of the Supreme Lord and his associates. When we give the Srimad Bhagavatam in particular to people, what to speak, it's a full set. We're giving them the association of Srila Vyasadeva, Shukadeva Goswami, Narada Muni, Maharaj Parikshit, all the different all the Mahajans, Shukadeva, Bhishma Dev, Janaka, Lord Ramachandra, etc., 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 etc. The transcendental artist Chaudharani, who joined Srila Prabhupada when she was only 19 years old in 1966, and many of her paintings, even up to the mid-1970s, she had already painted 200 paintings. She was also very fond of distributing Prabhupada's books whenever she had the chance. So one young lady got a Krishna book, an original Krishna book from her. She dutifully put it on her shelf. She later married, had a family, had a son. When that son was 15 years old, we're talking some like 25, 30 years after receiving the book in the early to mid-1970s, her son asked, "Mom, why am I here? Is there a God? What does he want from me? What is the meaning of my life?" Oh, and then she reached up on the top shelf, maybe hadn't touched the book in decades, read this book. And the boy looked at it and saw Krishna with the 3 diacritical markings under RSN and started reading it. Wow. He became an initiated devotee named Gaura Krishna Das. I don't know exactly where he's situated. Transcendental time bonds. And many of us have the experience that Srila Prabhupada's books convinced us to join the Krishna consciousness movement. I could say for myself that whatever few books that I got, the artwork inside convinced me even more than the philosophy, which somehow wasn't able to really comprehend so nicely at the time. So Prabhupada harmonized and organized everything in the most wholesome way so that everything is in proper order, proper understanding of all the different categories. The deity cannot be worshipped except by devotees. We read of the deity is to be reported. The deities know everything that we're thinking, everything that we plan to do, everything that we would like to do, have done, but still we report to them. We want to report our activities to expand their glories. And Srila Prabhupada, he gave in one place, I remember one class, very profound. Prabhupada was like really fired up, and he was like practically, very ecstatic and enlivening. He said, "What is the symptom of one who loves the Supreme Personality of Godhead? That he wants his Lord's name and fame to be spread everywhere like wildfire." So that is the ultimate deity worship. But practically combined together. And Prabhupada said the position of the pujari is most fortunate because the pujari, what he's doing with his physical body is exactly the same thing he will be doing in his spiritual, eternal root body in the spiritual world. And then verses 30 through 33, as a very amazing translation of the word-for-word translation from Sanskrit, which we will speak in a second. This is the complete text. The sacred lakes like Pushkar and places where saintly persons live, like Kurukshetra, Gaya, Prayag, Ulaha Ashram, Naimisharanya, the banks of the Falgu River, Setu Banda, Prabhas, Dwarka, Varanasi, Mathura, Pampa, Bindu Sarovar, Bhadrakashram, Naimisharanya, the places where the Nanda River flows, the places where Lord Ramachandra and Mother Sita took shelter, such as Chitrakoot, and also the hilly tracts of land known as Mahendra and Malaya. All of them are to be considered most pious and sacred. Archita Ashrita. This is the English word-for-word translation. Astounding. Srila Prabhupada has the authority to give this definition. Places where the deity of Radha and Krishna is worshipped, such as big American cities like New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, and European cities like London and Paris, or wherever there are centers of Krishna consciousness. Similarly, places outside India where there are centers of the Krishna consciousness movement, and where Radha and Krishna deities are worshipped, must all be visited and worshipped by those who want to be spiritually advanced. One who intends to advance in spiritual life may visit all these places and perform ritualistic ceremonies to get results 1,000 times better than the results of the same activities performed in any other place. In these verses, stress is given to one point, Harer Acharitas Cha Ye, or Harer Archa. In other words, any place where the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped by devotees is most significant. The Krishna consciousness movement is giving the population of the entire world a chance to take advantage of Krishna consciousness through the ISKCON centers where one may perform deity worship and chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. In one place, Srila Prabhupada quotes Srila Jiva Goswami, one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, that every activity in devotional service, for it to yield perfection and fruition, must be accompanied by the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. And Srila Prabhupada himself said about the installing of the deities in the Krishna Balaram Mandir, the temple of Prabhupada in Vrindavan. Krishna Balaram, Radha Shyama Sundar, Lalita Vishaka, Sri Shigaurni Tai, and deities of Srila Prabhupada himself and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, was installed by his own disciples performing Harinam Sankirtan. Yet to appease local custom and local idea, a whole ritualistic procedure over many days was brought in by identifiable born Brahmins, chanting so many different mantras and so many elaborate procedures. The Prabhupada said the real calling of the deities and the deities staying was by our own men performing Nam Sankirtan. And in this way, the results will be with effectiveness increased 1,000 times. This constitutes the best welfare activity for human society. This is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission as predicted until Lila chapter 4, which is Sanatana Goswami's second meeting with the Lord. Pritaviti Achiyata Nagaradi Ram Sarvatra Pachar Hadi Moranam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted the Hare Krishna movement with installed deities to spread in every village and town in the world so that everyone in the world might take advantage of this movement and become all auspicious in spiritual life. Everyone should be very eagerly interested in taking part in the Krishna consciousness movement and understand the value of spiritual life. The specific or particular glory of Shri Shri Radha Govinda, words cannot come close to explain. Srila Prabhupada has spoken in the beginning of the Adi Leela, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the chapter of the Spiritual Masters. This is where Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is speaking the 4 essential seed verses of which the entire book is based upon. And within that are glorification of the Panchatattva, and as we will hear, the 3 principal deities of Krishna who take charge of the 3 principal stages of approach to supreme perfection. This is verse 19. The 3 deities of Vrindavan, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinath, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. The followers of Lord Chaitanya, who follow him strictly, worship the divinity, and chanting transcendental sounds meant to develop a sense of one's transcendental relationship with the Supreme Lord, a reciprocation of mellows, rasas, of mutual affection. That is why we chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra as much as possible, as purely as possible. These 3 deities are worshipped in 3 different stages of one's development. The followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu scrupulously follow these principles of approach. Gaudiya Vaishnavas perceive the ultimate objective in Vedic hymns composed of 18 transcendental letters that adore Krishna as Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopi Jana Vallabha. Madan Mohan is he who charms Cupid, the god of love, and Govinda is he who pleases the senses and the cows, and Gopi Jana Vallabha is the transcendental lover of the gopis. Krishna himself is called Madan Mohan, Govinda, Gopi Jana Vallabha, and countless other names as he plays in the different pastimes with his devotees. And Prabhupada explains a little more deep to understand. The 3 deities, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopi Jana Vallabha, have very specific qualities. Worship of Madan Mohan is on the platform of reestablishing our forgotten relationship with the personality of Godhead. In the material world, we are presently in utter ignorance of our eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. Pango refers to one who cannot move independently by his own strength, and Madan Mate is one who is less intelligent because he is too absorbed in materialistic activities. When we become attached to the bodily conception of life, trying to enjoy our own bodily senses or the bodily senses of others, then that puts us in gross mundane ignorance. But when we serve Krishna's transcendental bodily senses and try to please him, we become the knower of everything. You don't have to go to school to get a degree. You simply have to become a pure devotee. Or, another way of saying is that university degrees and doctorates are not helpful to achieve the highest platform of success, love of Godhead, Krishna Prema. It is best for such persons not to aspire for success in fruitive activities. Work reward syndrome. I did this, I get this, I enjoy this. Just like now we see this very materialistic civilization, they're more or less training everybody. Your identity is a worker and a consumer and an enjoyer. That's it. Don't aspire for anything more. Work very hard, make money, and spend that money on sense gratification. That's fruitive activities. And mental speculation are philosophies and rationales that more or less keep you on the bodily conception of life. So many books, so many philosophies. brings you nowhere, ends nowhere. Or mental speculation. Krishna himself says at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, 11th chapter, one who is free from the contamination for the desire for fruitive gain and from mental speculation, was very, very kind to every living entity. Such a person is very dear to me. But instead, simply surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The perfection of life is simply to surrender to the Supreme. In the beginning of our spiritual life, we must therefore worship Madan Mohan so that he may attract us and nullify our attachment for material sense gratification. So Madana Mohan, Mohan means enchanter, the enchanter of Madan, the god of lust, Cupid, who's making everyone, human society, dogs, birds, beasts, everyone mad with lusty sexual desire, which is the complete opposite and perverted reflection of one's attraction to Krishna. And even more than that, the Acharyas give the definition of raga, we say sometimes without full realization, raganuga bhakti. Rag means not just our attraction, but more Krishna's attraction to us. And Krishna certainly cannot be attracted to a material body. He's attracted to a spiritual body, which has been reactivated and granted by the Lord's pure devotees situated in the internal pleasure-giving potency, which is non-different than himself. This relationship with Madan Mohan is necessary for neophyte devotees. So it's not that, okay, Radha Govinda are here, well, we gotta go find a temple that's got Madan Mohan because I really need that. In any form, Krishna assumes all the different, whatever is necessary. But at the same time, for the higher devotees, more adept devotees, they can perceive the transcendental position of Krishna as Madan Mohan, Govinda, and ultimately Gopinath or Gopijana Vallabha. So, when the relationship with Madan Mohan, when one's even sufficiently, not even like, say, like Srinvatam Svakata Krishna Punya, not 100%, practically destroyed to nil. That is why the regulative principles of freedom, no meat eating, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling. By refraining from these, this allows one's original spiritual senses of actual cognition to manifest, and one can see things in right perspective. So, on that platform, when one wishes to render service to the Lord with strong attachment, one worships Govinda. O Govinda, I shall not fight. It's interesting, you can read in the chapter 1 of the Bhagavad Gita, verses 32 to 35, Arjuna is giving many reasons why you shouldn't have to fight. In these particular verses, he's saying, he calls out, O Govinda, to what avail to us are kingdoms, riches, opulence, when those by which we wish to enjoy them with are all going to be killed? Fathers, worshipful superiors, gurus, teachers, contemporaries. And Prabhupada gives insight by Arjuna addressing Krishna as Govinda. He understands, Arjuna, that Govinda means he who gives pleasure to the senses, cows in the senses. So that by calling him Govinda, Arjuna is implying that you should please my senses and understand my arguments. But Prabhupada says Govinda is not meant for pleasing our senses. He will award people, he's giving everyone, he's feeding the ant, he's feeding the elephant, feeding the devotees, feeding the non-devotees, Bhuta Brit. But when one takes the opposite course of trying to satisfy Govinda's senses, So ultimately, Arjuna, he understood the purport of Bhagavad Gita, and was, as Prabhupada said, at the very end, when Sanjaya is telling the Dhritarashtra, sorry, you're going to lose. Wherever there is Krishna and Arjuna, there will certainly be victory, morality, extraordinary power, and opulence. That is my opinion. Prabhupada says there, Arjuna would be ready to fight to the end. Strong attachment with complete engagement in devotional service. That is Radha Govinda. And especially in New York City, kill or be killed, sink or swim, do or die. So, worship of Radha Govinda in New York City is not for the faint at heart. It's for very strong and determined persons, ultimately. Krishna likes that. He likes to be the commander of very brave and powerful warriors, those who are ready to give everything and are not afraid. Can stand up against any mundane atheistic onslaught and defeat it based on sound Bhakti Siddhanta and Bhakti Vedanta. Prabhupada said, real worship of the spiritual master is not just to offer him fruits and flowers, but to defeat Mayavad, impersonalism, and atheism. That is real worship. And when we get people to take Srila Prabhupada's books in particular, Prabhupada counted that as real preaching. What good will your 3-minute speech do? But if he takes a book, his whole life can be changed. And if he doesn't take the book, he puts it on his shelf, as we heard in the case of the mother who had a son who 35 years later took the book and became a devotee. Strong attachment, one worships Govinda on the platform of transcendental service. Govinda is the reservoir of all pleasure, and when by the grace of Krishna and the devotees, one reaches perfection in devotional service, he can appreciate Krishna as Gopi, Jana, Vallabha, the pleasure deity of the damsels of Braja. So Prabhupada has given us this sadhana of giving Krishna consciousness to others and has assured us you are guaranteed perfection. Prabhupada wrote a very nice purport. 5th canto, chapter 1, where Priyabrata Maharaj, being elevated to the platform of Brahmachari Paramahamsa renunciation by Narada Muni, his father, the illustrious Swayambhuva Manu, was like, who's going to take over the rule of the universe? Lord Brahma had to come down, and who's superior to Narada Muni, and desist him and to dissuade him from his determination. So Prabhupada relates that, or brings it on home to us. The devotees in this movement are living in big materialistic cities, big cities where the materialistic way of life is very, very prevalent. So you would think that this is dangerous, or that this is a demerit, or this is going to be a stumbling block. The Prabhupada says, actually, no. And particularly by meeting those who are not engaged in Krishna consciousness, these become a source of krita punya punja, heaps and heaps of transcendental spiritual credits that ultimately will bring you to the position of relating with Krishna directly. My dear spiritual master, what kind of mantra have you given me? Lord Chaitanya asked Ishvara Puri. I've become like a madman. And the reply was, it is very good, my child, that you have developed ecstasy in chanting the holy name of Krishna. Now go out and preach the value of chanting Krishna's name, because by this process you can deliver the entire material world. Prabhupada says in that section, for one who is actually advanced in Krishna consciousness, meeting people who are not engaged in devotional service is not a disadvantage, because by giving that transcendental association, those people get a chance to become devotees of the Lord one day. And this is what Krishna is looking for. He's very much concerned. My dear Haridas Thakur, how will all these Yavanas and Malechas be delivered? I don't see I don't see how it's possible. This is my great anxiety. Of course, Haridas Thakur, the Namacharya, said, by the loud chanting of the holy name. And Prabhupada says, this is service. The devotee tries to relieve the anxiety that the Lord feels for the benefit of the fallen conditioned souls. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained this mode of devotional service in 3 stages, and therefore these worshipful deities were installed in Vrindavan by the different Goswamis. So we have a very great opportunity to worship Srila Prabhupada's Sri Sri Radha Govinda here in New York City. A very great fortune. Divyan Brindaranya Kalpajumada, Sriman Ratnagara Srinhasanastam, Sriman Radha Srila Govinda Devam, Prastaladi Sejamano Smarami. In the Temple of Jewels, underneath the desire trees in Vrindavan, seated upon an effulgent throne, are the divine couple Sri Sri Radha and Govinda, served by their most confidential associates. We beg to offer our respectful obeisances unto them. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. What is the procedure? Questions or comments, or that's all? Okay, can you please come forward and speak so I can hear? It may be difficult for me to hear you back there.
I know that Jesus Christ is a reincarnation of Hare Krishna. Was Hare Krishna, was Jesus Christ a vegetarian, and and if yes, which Krishna scriptures say that?
Jesus Christ is not a reincarnation of Krishna. Jesus Christ is Jiva Tattva. This is a lengthy explanation. But as he's acting as the representative of God, reaching according to time, place, and circumstance, he is elevated to the position of Guru Tattva. What's the other part of the question?
Was he a vegetarian,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ?
Yes.
Yes.
And
Eating meat is against the principles of spiritual advancement. Okay?
And which Krishna scriptures explain that?
You can read in the Science of Self-Realization, there's a section called Christ and Krishna, where Srila Prabhupada explains the relationship between Krishna and Jesus Christ. So I think we'll stop here. Thank you very much.
Jai. It's Jai.